That's what jealousy is, at root. So what is it that bothers us so much when our girlfriend or wife has an affair with someone else? Let's explore that for a moment. Let's imagine you're in a relationship with a wonderful, wonderful girl. You've been together for a few years, and let's say you're married. You love each other immensely, but there is no longer any passion in your relationship. You move through your days as if you two are sleepwalking together. You carry your lunch pail to work every day. She goes to her job every day. And in the evening, you watch TV together every day. You hardly sleep together at all anymore. However, she is a wonderful woman and you have some wonderful times together. Sounds pretty normal, right? You know she's not sexually satisfied anymore, but you're so tired after work most of the time and so busy, you just want to go to sleep. It would be okay if she just wanted a quickie, but she's going to want the full treatment tonight, lots of foreplay, etc. And you just don't have the energy tonight for a full production. That's normal. That's what we are normally like. So life goes on and this continues. Imagining this, right? But then one day you notice she hasn't asked you for sex in quite a long time. In fact, now that you think about it, she's being unusually happy these days. Instantly you suspect what? She is having an affair. So you confront her. Of course she's not having an affair, she laughs. No. But then she tells you something. She tells you about this new company in town that offers the opportunity to have a virtual affair. Not interactive computer sex with a real person on the other end of a computer connection, but a simulated environment, a controlled environment in which you can have sex with a completely simulated person. She tells you it feels exactly like real sex, but in fact, you just lie there on a table, completely still with all your clothes on, and all the experiences are caused by computers stimulating your brain to make it seem as though you're actually having sex. And it is marvelous sex, she tells you. All the thrills of an affair. But because there's no third person involved, is it really infidelity? How would this make you feel? Would you be jealous? Well, there's two ways to look at it. If we don't mind that she goes to the gym and then heads over to her cyber sex appointment, then that would suggest that the crucial factor of infidelity is the involvement of another person. That's what we don't like, another person there. But if we don't like her having this virtual sex, it bothers us, then it would seem that it is not the role of a third party that is the problem after all. What is upsetting us is not that she is turning towards someone else, or in this case, something else. What upsets you is that she is turning away from you. In other words, when she goes out to have her virtual sex appointment, it signals that she has stopped seeing you as the person to which she wants to express herself sexually. This, I think, is the whole crux of it. This is what bothers us so much about infidelity. If our girlfriend or wife sleeps with another guy, we tend to get mad at him, when really it has nothing to do with him at all. Why get mad at him? It's not his fault. No one ever steals your woman. She leaves of her own volition. She leaves because she has to. My own personal view of jealousy is this. If that beautiful, wonderful woman that I am with, who I say I respect and adore so much, ever meets a man that she would rather be with than me, then who am I to stop her? What right do I have to impede her happiness? She is not my possession. She has the right to be happy in life. And if she would be happier with someone else, with him, then she should be allowed that freedom. For fun, I always introduce girls to other people as my sister. This includes girls I just met, and even my girlfriend. She's used to it by now. For instance, if my girlfriend and I are together and someone asks, "So were you guys together?" I usually answer something like, "What, us? No, this is my sister. She's kind of cute for a sister. She's totally available too, man." I will totally say stuff like that all the time in front of her. She's used to it. Another thing that's fun to say, when my girlfriend and I are asked if we are a couple, I will always answer, "No, we're usually a threesome, but the other girl couldn't make it." It's no fun to say that kind of stuff if my girlfriend is not around to hear me say it. That's half the fun. You want to get her to punch you on the arm. I always say stuff like that when she's around. I also introduce girls I just met as my sister. For instance, I was talking to a girl I just met at a party one time, just met her, and a friend of mine walked up. And he's like, "Hey, Zan, how you been?" "Very good, and you?" Doing good, doing good. And he's glancing over at this girl who I'm talking to, wanting to be introduced. She's extremely hot. And so I'm like, "Oh, hey, let me introduce you to my sister." And when you say that, you smile and wink at her like it's an inside joke. "Let me introduce you to my sister. This is Sylvia." And he's like, "Your sister, huh?" His interest level goes way up. "Well, hello, Sylvia." It's fun. I do this all the time. The guy will start to make all kinds of overtures to your sister, and I just sit back and laugh and wink at the girl. She'll talk to him and play along, but of course she wants nothing to do with the guy. This is because what I just did is very similar to a takeaway, and is very powerful. Essentially, it cements your status with her in her mind. Or for another example, I'll be sitting in a restaurant with a girl and the waitress will arrive and it'll go something like this. The waitress will say, "Hello, my name is Angela and I'll be your waitress for the evening. Can I get you anything to drink?" I will immediately say, "Hi Angela, I'm Zan, and this is my sister Nicole. I'll have a Perrier with lime." Always have fun with that. The beauty of this is that it completely takes the girl off guard. You do it in a joking way, serious to the person you're introducing her to, the guy or the waitress, but covertly smiling and winking to the girl you're with. They absolutely love it. The thinly veiled implication here is that you are confident enough in yourself to present her to others as your sister. And what's great is they will usually go along with the joke and then laugh and hit you on the arm later. That is the state you want to be in with a girl. It's kind of like James Bond and Moneypenny. He's always flirting with her, and she always replies, "Oh, James, you're incorrigible." That is the rapport you want to create between women and you. Women love it. Try it sometime. It's a lot of fun. We need to accept the ways in which we are different. It's kind of like we are swimming in the ocean. Some people like to swim near the surface, where it is wonderful and refreshing, not a care in the world. Near the surface it is light, and there is very little pressure. It is easy to swim fast and have a lot of fun. You can see the sunlight rippling on the surface above, and you know you're very close to the way out. All you have to do is swim up and you're out. It is kind of an easy light green, and some people like to swim deeper in the ocean, where it starts to become more vibrant and rich. There's much more to see here. Wonderful fish and sea creatures and coral and exotic looking plants. Beautiful and vibrant. But there's more pressure. It is a little slower going, and if you are this deep, it is not as easy to get to the surface. There's a lot more pressure, but also a far more serene and reflective experience. It is more profound and meaningful. Either way is fine, but every person tends to prefer one or the other. You will find that you might like to be deep in the ocean where it is colorful and vibrant, but the woman you're with might not be comfortable so deep. She may like to swim near the surface. Now, if you encourage her, she will come down for a while and swim a little deeper with you because she really does love you. But eventually, she might feel she can't breathe or the pressure is too much for her to bear, and she will have to return to the surface. That's what relationships today are like. People like to swim at different depths, and there's nothing you can do about it. You have to enjoy swimming with that wonderful woman who has come into your life for as long as you can. But you can never change the depth she prefers. Therein lies a lot of our problems in a relationship. And finding someone who likes to swim at the same depth as you is not very easy. In fact, you might wish you were more of a surface person, because it seems so much easier and you don't have to feel so deeply. But you can't. Or vice versa. You might wish you could swim deeper, but you need to be near the surface. But this knowledge that we all have different levels that we're comfortable with will free you from the unreasonable expectations you place on her. You have to let her swim where she is most comfortable and happy. And by doing so, you might lose her as the current drifts you two apart. But if you don't, if you try to force her to stay with you at your chosen depth, you will definitely lose her. Definitely. Another example, Monet, the famous Impressionist painter. He spent the last half of his life painting the same bridge over and over again, at different times of the day, different seasons, over and over again. The same bridge. And as he aged and his eyesight worsened, the paintings get blurrier and blurrier and blurrier. Same bridge, a little bit harder to make out what it is, but it's the same bridge that he always painted. That is traditional modern relationships. We keep entering into the same relationships over and over and over again. We think this one will be different, but it's just the same old bridge painting we've always done. And as time goes on, each relationship we enter into is less carefully painted because we are losing our ability to see. On the other hand, Vermeer, the 16th century Dutch master, he painted amazing scenes of ordinary people in ordinary clothes doing ordinary things. His painting of the lace maker is very famous, and even more famous is The Girl with the Pearl Earring. Very famous paintings. But what everyone agrees that is remarkable about Vermeer's painting, way ahead of his time, is the way he painted light. It is surreal and beautiful. In fact, there are some who say that he really only painted light, not the subjects in his painting. He wanted to show that the light was the important theme of the picture. If there was no light, nothing else in the picture mattered. They were just objects. He didn't see it as a table, but as an object reflecting light back at him. That is the enlightened approach to relationships. You don't want to paint your relationships like Monet, painting the same thing over and over again, and losing clarity and insight in the process. You want to paint your relationships like Vermeer, in such a way that the beauty of the light reflected off of it enriches the lives of you and her and everyone else around. Can the art of love be learned? Can we learn to be the kind of man women respond to? Can we learn ways of being that increase our aura, our charm, our confidence, our attractiveness quotient with women? Can you learn to live a life that is purposeful? Can you learn to be compelling? Can you learn how to have a certain joie de vivre that makes you irresistible to women, a man to be admired and desired? Can we actually change? The answer to all these questions is yes. I firmly believe that natural skills, seduction skills, can be learned by almost anyone. I have seen quiet, even shy men become charismatic and effective, enlightened seducers, naturals, and leaders of men. Here's a question for you. Have you ever been a woman's fantasy? What a thought. Think about it. Have you ever been a woman's fantasy? How would it make you feel if you knew that somewhere a woman was fantasizing, dreamily dreaming about you right now? Women are fantasizing about someone. Why not you? Can one learn to become a natural? We talked about this. We have all seen what we generally call naturals. We have known guys that are good with women. And as we have seen, they aren't born with it. Every man that is naturally good with women is that way because he made a conscious effort to be that way. He studied it. He learned it. That guy you all know who was a natural became a natural because he took from his experiences what worked and discarded what didn't work. He sought to improve, and he thought about his attitudes and methods and his mindset very directly and very diligently. Was I always good with women? Did I always have A great self-confidence? Well, let me tell you a little bit about my background. I was beat up and picked on as a kid in school. My clothes were hand-me-downs from my brother, and I was definitely not cool. I was not a cool kid in school. When they were picking kids for the team, for instance, I was always the last one picked. You know how it goes. Billy, Joey, Jason, Jimmy in the wheelchair, Zan, I guess. It's kind of like that. In short, I had zero confidence growing up all through school. Zero. I was a quiet, shy kid, a bookworm. So here I was, this scared, extremely shy, awkward little kid. And I remember in the 3rd grade falling in love with a girl in my class. Her name was Judy, and I was smitten, I remember. I couldn't take my eyes off her. She was so perfect in my eyes. I was so quiet and shy. Long golden hair. I can still remember sitting on the swing next to her and getting up my nerve to finally talk to a girl, her. When I finally did find my voice, I squeaked out something along the lines of, I like you. And she gave me what I think must have been my very first, not my last, let's just be friends speech. I spent the rest of the year in school watching this girl quietly and thinking about her. And she spent the rest of the year being the pretty popular girl in class and virtually ignoring my very existence. Every year of school after that, I repeated the pattern. I would always fall for the popular pretty girl in my class, and she would always freeze me out of her life. Not that it took very much effort on her part. I was mostly too scared or shy to approach her anyway. On any level, I had no confidence, and never once did I believe that I deserved a girl like her, that she could ever want anything to do with someone like me. So I consistently rejected myself on her behalf and saved her the trouble of even having to acknowledge me. So I was not good at sports. I was kind of shy and awkward. What was I good at? I was good at chess. I was captain of the chess club. I was a computer nerd. I still am a computer nerd. So this went all the way like that to my senior year of high school. The last year of high school, I scraped up the nerve to ask a girl to the senior prom. Now bear in mind, this is the first time I had approached the girl in any way since the girl on the swing years ago. Well, guess what happened? I spent weeks getting my nerve up, and I finally said to her, will you go to the dance with me? And she replied, why, Zan, of course I won't. That's right, she said no. Oh, did she already have a date? Didn't want to hurt that guy's feelings by going with me instead? She had no plans yet, but simply did not want to go with me. With me. That affected me greatly. And as I continued on in life after school, I carried with me the same limiting beliefs that I didn't deserve a girl like her. Until one day, I decided to change. I decided to become a student of women. I had no experience with women whatsoever, and I decided to become a student of women. I set out to change the way I related to women and the way they related to me. I became a student in the same way that I had learned the Queen's Gambit opener in chess. I started to study and attempted to learn the ways of women. And I am still learning. A unique mix of personality characteristics that we call charm is what attracts a woman. This is what makes them listen to us in the first place. This is what makes them believe what we are saying and want to get to know us. Charm describes many character traits like communication skills, compelling purpose in life, an unfailing belief in oneself, to name a few. We have all heard the phrase, fake it until you make it. Well, what exactly does that mean? At first blush, it seems to mean that if you do not have the requisite attitude or skill set for something, do it anyway and fake that you have it. Eventually, you will make it, or eventually you will have it. Does this work? Yes, it does. But not for the reason you might at first think. It isn't because by faking it you will eventually become something different than you are, and that you are moving toward the notion of making it. Rather, the very notion of you taking steps to do something out of character or out of your comfort zone is not faking it, It is actually the first step of making it. By taking the first step of change, you have already become what you seek to be. There is no fake it until you make it. There is only making it. For every step you take towards that betterment is making it. You know, we are like actors. At first, unsure of the lines, then steadily more inhabiting our parts. Part of ourselves showing through, partly someone else. More and more, we're able to immerse into this other persona until there is very little of us left. In fact, eventually, we convince ourselves that this is the new us. The old us was the real actor. It's kind of like those magic eye posters. You ever see those posters? Those ones that look at a bunch of random colors and patterns? You know the ones. You look at it, it's just a bunch of random colors and patterns, but once you get how to look at it differently, how do you kind of look through it, a little cross-eyed even, suddenly you can see the image hidden inside the picture. It's in there floating away. Understanding women is sort of like that. You don't get it at first. You can't see it. I can't see it, I don't get it. But then, almost without explanation, you just do. Suddenly you do. All of a sudden you see it, you understand, and you can never look at it the same way again. Someone said to me recently that surely there must be a distinction between those who have learned to be charismatic and charming and those who were just born with it. That one is real and the other will always be fake. A close approximation, but fake. Well, let's look at it this way. Let's say you worked at 7-Eleven. I come in to buy some candy and I hand you a $1 bill. So far, a pretty normal everyday transaction, right? But let's say the $1 bill I handed to you was one that I drew with crayons on a napkin. You, as a 7-Eleven clerk, would most likely be astute enough to inform me to get out of the store, that you don't take fake $1 bills. So I go away, and I come back a month later with a $1 bill that I photocopied on a color photocopier. You look at it very carefully and hold it up to the light. It appears genuine, but still you aren't sure. So you put it in the little ultraviolet light checker thingy, and it glows. It glows wrong. You are now sure that this $1 bill is counterfeit, and once again, you kick me out of the store, threatening to call the police. Undeterred, I go back to my basement lab. But this time, I managed to create a perfect replica of a $1 bill. Not one that just looks and feels exactly like a $1 bill, but one that is molecule for molecule identical to a real $1 bill. The paper is exactly the same as the paper is a real $1 bill. The ink is exactly like the ink of a real $1 bill. All of the little security strips, the color shifting ink, the hologram elements, exactly the same. This time, it passes all of the tests that you, the 7-Eleven clerk, throw at it. You know I have tried to pass off phony bills before, so you are especially diligent. But after careful scrutiny, you are satisfied that this is indeed a real $1 bill. So you give me my change, and I walk out with my candy. So now here's the question. Was this a real $1 bill or not? If it is exactly like a real $1 bill, but it's fake, but right down to the molecular level, it is real, seems real, then what distinguishes it from a real $1 bill? Surely it must be real. What is the difference between my homemade bill and a real one? Well, when you think of it, since they are molecularly the same, the only difference is the provenance, where they came from, the source. In other words, mine was made by me in my basement, the real one was made by the government. So the only difference between the two bills is their history, where they came from. Functionally, they are the same. They both can be used interchangeably. They are both real. The lesson from this is that the source is the only real determinant of what is real and what is fake. So if a man has been a natural with women since his early teens, who is to say he is more real or more natural than a man who learned it in his late 20s or 30s or 40s? What can we gather from this? One, there's no such thing as fake it until you make it. And two, yes, all of this can be learned. I learned it. Others have learned it. There is no one who is born a natural. They are all invented. They have all created themselves. The logical conclusion can only be this. We can all learn to be the way we desire to be, including you. If we assume then that those first two principles are fundamentally true, then at what point can we say that someone is now good with women? If we look at a man in a given point of time over there, He is no good with women. He is by all accounts unskilled. But let's say he begins to approach women. He gets a phone number. He slowly gets better and better. At what point would we say he is a natural? At what point would we watch him in action and say that he is truly a natural? Now he's good with women. Well, let's go back to another dollar bill example to see if we can get an answer. Let's say you encounter a homeless man on the street. He has no food, no money, and no home. His only possession is a tin can that he has placed in front of him on the sidewalk. He is what we would all call monetarily poor. Sure, he might be rich in his heart, be happy and serene in the sunlight and all that, but by the measurement of financial wealth, there is no one that would say that he is rich. He has nothing but a tin can. But let's say you go up to him and you give him a dollar bill. Is he now rich? Well, one could argue that he is relatively rich compared to what he used to have, which is nothing, but in the context of the wealth of the city around him, no one would walk by and think, wow, that guy's rich. But what about if you gave him a second dollar bill? Now is two. Is he now rich? Well, he's twice as wealthy as he was before, but again, no one would mistake him for a millionaire, for a rich guy, having only $2 to his name. But let's continue. What if you gave him another dollar, and then another dollar, and then another dollar? What if you kept giving him dollar bills? At what point then would we say that that guy is rich? Perhaps you might say that he is rich, and I would agree, when he has been given his millionth dollar. Correct? But then, what if you took a dollar away from him? And he is left with $999,999. Is he still rich? What is the cutoff? The truth is, there is no magic point. No distinction between rich and poor. Whatever number you decide is the point that you would call him rich. I will then ask, what will he be if you remove $1 from his tin can? Will he still be rich? That is the third important principle. You are never truly accomplished, never truly rich. You will never truly be satisfied with your skills with women. The principles of a natural, enlightened seduction have remained the same forever. It has always worked. In all times and places, there have always been men who know how to be comfortable around women. It is like mathematics. Society changes all around, but the basic principles of men who have women in their life does not. Like my 10 traits I outlined earlier in this program, they never change, and they never will change. I always wondered why the orchestra has never added a new type of instrument since forever. Why in school did they hand out trumpets and tubas and not something different and new? Since the invention of the saxophone in the 1800s, no new musical instrument has found their place in the modern orchestra. The amplified plucked string and electronic keyboard instruments have introduced new sounds and greatly increased volume in certain forms of music. But the principles of generating musical notes is still the same as it ever was. We either pluck or bang on something that is stretched, or we blow through a hole. That's it, two ways. And taken even further, those two can be broken down into this. It all comes down to vibration. So if the principles of seduction and success with women have never changed, just like music, then why is it so hard to learn and assimilate? Many men come to believe that their lives are only a compilation of psychological wounds that they feel they can do little to heal. They project their past experience with women onto every woman that comes into their lives. Now, although the state of mind is sad, self-limiting, and defeating, it can be very comfortable. It is easier. It gives them permission to lead a life of limited responsibility for themselves. It gives you an excuse. So as the years go by, and a man becomes accustomed to this kind of self-protection, it is more and more difficult to change. So when you find yourself saying or thinking, I think I could be great with women if only my circumstances or my looks or my wounded past didn't prevent me from achieving it, then take steps to change that poisonous mindset. If you don't have a girlfriend, but you want one, I'll tell you why you don't have one. You don't have a girlfriend because you don't really want one. If you really wanted a girlfriend, if you really wanted success with women, you would have. But understand where it comes from. It comes from in here. Now, what compelled you to watch this program? What is it that you hope to gain? Most importantly, what do you really want from women? Most men, when asked, can't answer that question. There are some men who think they know exactly what they want, but if they somehow manage to get it, they realize it isn't really what they wanted after all. And compounding your answer is what you desire from women changes as your experience with them grows. It is a well-known phenomenon that winning the lottery generally does not make people fundamentally happier than they were before, just like getting that woman that you've always desired. For a short time, yes, they seem to be on top of the world. I won the lottery. But after a time, the people who are happy in life, who had a zest for living, who are pleasant to be around, are still the same way after they win the lottery. The only difference is that they have $1 million. Conversely, if you are a miserable pessimist who hates the world for letting you down, you are going to be a rich, miserable pessimist. So ask yourself, what is it you want from these creatures we call women? How do you want to be perceived by them? It's essential to understand where you feel you are today and where you wish to be tomorrow. Now, I automatically have a massive respect for everyone watching this program, and here's why. I approach life like I am on a type of journey, a quest. And you also are a seeker, or you would not be watching this. We are all on a journey. There are a lot of guys who desire to learn more about themselves, who wish to be more dynamic in their interaction with women, to maximize excellence in their lives, and yet they are too proud. They're too proud to admit it. Too proud to admit that they might be able to gain something. And so they go on through their lives in misery. But always remember this, you're a seeker, but the answer you seek can never be found in a woman. Inevitably, as men get better with women, as they get more comfortable being in their presence, they start to realize that the things they thought they wanted, they don't really want. The women they idolized leave them empty. Think how many rock stars and movie stars who wanted so bad to make it, to get fame and fortune. Why did they want it? To get women. To get the validation of women mainly. And yet, why do so many of them turn to drugs, alcohol, release? Because they realize that the moment they can get any woman they desire, the moment they can buy anything they wish, it loses its appeal. When you have enough money to buy 5 Ferraris, it loses its luster. And similarly, when you can walk into a room, a club, or a party, and because of your fame or your money, you can have sex with any woman there, you suddenly don't really want to. And if you do, it's just release. You were just horny and she was nearby. And you knew she would not say no, because of who you are. Bruce Willis said this, becoming famous was amazing and fun for about a month. You know, when I talk about visualizing the future you, it might sound like a lot of, sounds very nebulous, like kind of new agey nonsense, but it isn't. It is the fundamentals of all success. And you're thinking, okay, I just want to pick up girls. And I understand that. There is no quick fix. There is no 3 magic words that are going to make that girl fall for you. But you will be swamped with offers for that. It isn't that. It's a mindset change. It is a way of looking at your future and your life and yourself in a different way. So that it is very much what I'm talking about. Now, the whole concept of visualization, let me explain what I mean by that. We can spend 30 minutes watching a sitcom, and that 30 minutes goes by, and yet we can't spend 30 minutes sitting quietly by ourselves. And when you think about it, in this day and age, in our modern society, we fill our time in our lives with activity. We have to. We have frenetic lifestyles. If we have free evenings during the week, well, we sign up for classes, we sign up for something, we do something, we join volleyball, we do whatever we have to do so that we're not idle. Because we think if we sit quietly by ourselves, we're not doing anything, and that's wrong. You know, in North America, we live to work. When somebody asks you about you, you tell me about you, the first thing we say is we describe what we do, because that's our whole identity. But in reality, in other places of the world, they work to live. They enjoy life. They have a glass of wine, sit on a balcony. That's what they want to do. And we don't have that mindset so much here. And the problem is we can't be what we think is idle. But the truth is 30 minutes sitting by yourself, contemplating your place in the universe and contemplating what you want your future to be like, instead of that 30 minutes with a sitcom, you could sacrifice that for this. Sitting quietly is the highest form of activity you can do. It is the key to correcting all the imbalances in your life and going forward. So remember that when you are trying to think about, okay, now how do I visualize? This is what I'm saying. Find a quiet place. Sit quietly by yourself. Close your eyes and picture you the way you would see yourself. You have to see it with emotion. You have to feel it. You have to, as your eyes are closed, you have to feel that you are actually there, that person. How you would feel, how would it make you feel? If you do that once a day, sacrifice your sitcom, immense things will happen in your life because you are focusing on that. What you focus on is where your life goes. I'm going to tell you now the single most effective way of changing your life and your success with women, your success in everything. This is the most important thing you can learn here today. Simply stated, picture yourself 90 days from now. Picture the ideal you 90 days from now. Where would you like to be? And how would you like to be? Picture it very clearly. What would you wear? How would you talk? How would you stand? How would you walk? How would you interact with women? Where would you be? Picture it very clearly, vividly. Imagine how it will make you feel 90 days from now. Hold it in your mind for a minute. Now from this moment on, erase everything from your life that doesn't look like that. You know, we are told to write down 1-year goals, 5-year goals, etc. Forget all that. It's hard to maintain that kind of dedication and focus. That's why we fail so spectacularly at all our goals and New Year's resolutions. Instead, use 90 days. That's all you have to do, 90 days. Picture what you would like to have in your life in 90 days. Then head toward it, no matter what. Does that TV show look like your future you? No? Get rid of it. Stop watching depressing news shows that add nothing to your life. In fact, stop watching TV. There is no better way to make your life more interesting than to stop watching TV and to do something else. What you think about and fill your mind with is what attracts to your life. Success with women, as with anything, is not an accident, it is a choice. It is deciding exactly how you want the world around you to be and what it will look like 90 days from now. So do these 3 simple things. Here they are. Number 1, write down in a list everything you desire, no matter what it is. Number 2, read that list 3 times a day without fail. And think about it constantly. No matter what you're doing, think about the things on your list. That's what you really desire all day long. And 3, don't tell anyone else what you're doing. Don't tell anybody about your list. That's it. You have no idea how these things are going to happen in your life, but just trust that they will, somehow. You know, we wish for things to materialize in our life, but we don't really believe we deserve them. We doubt that we deserve them. The problem is that we wish for things, but we don't want them bad enough. The truth is, we would rather watch TV or play our video games than have a girlfriend if we don't want it bad enough. Or you'd have it. The key is the clarity of your vision. You have to think of how you want to be and think of nothing else. Concentrate on the things you want and cast out the things you don't want. Whatever reality you create inside you will create the reality outside of you. Now, you might have no clue how the universe will align with your internal vision, but it will. If you continually visualize what you want to happen in your life vividly, it will happen. If you continue to think about your problems, your bills, your debt, your lack of success with women, your circumstances, well, that will happen too. Whatever you dwell upon is what will happen in your life. You see, the average person makes goals, writes them down, makes resolutions, then they start to think about what about this and what about that. It's our habit. We have been doing it for years. And so you give your mind conflicting mental images back and forth. That is why you can read a motivational book and get all excited, but several days later, your old habits come creeping back in, and you find